Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, this old gypsy. And I'm going to start with a warning that I do have my dogs out. My two big dogs were just doing a mini riot and I broke it up. So it's hard to say if I'll have to yell, I'll have to yell at something during the course of this video. But they need their time out in the house. This is going to be a look at the Money Tarot by Eugene Vinitski. And I was clueless about this deck until I tried to trade other decks. Would you please just focus? And so I ended up in a deck trade, on Facebook, the Tarot Swap group on Facebook. And somebody had this available for trade, and I thought, really? So what it is it uses images from actual currency from around the world, mostly European, but they use quite a bit from Mexico. So yeah, I just really liked it, and I will admit to some money issues. I'm not somebody who gets into outrageous debt or generally fails to pay my bills. In fact, that's really, I shouldn't even cast aspersions on myself. That I'm very reliable in terms of paying my bills. But I still do have, I feel like, an attitude issue in regards to money, long-standing, and have never quite figured it out, although some past life readings have certainly revealed that it could be a past life issue or something that's carried over. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's still there. And so I feel like I'm still working through whatever that is. And so I thought that this deck, which is pricey, especially when you pay about $20 for shipping into the US, but I just felt like it was worth it, because even if I don't use it as a tarot deck, I just was thinking that it might help move me or give me a different perspective on money and currency. Just watching some flip-throughs started to do that. So this is it. This is the backs, and it's also one of this image is part of one of the faces of a card. It doesn't perfectly follow the Rider-Waite-Smith, but it does make some attempt to do so. It has very literal mirror gold, but not super heavy, like some decks will have it's supposed to look like gold, the currency, right? A bar of gold. Here it is. The deck is a bar of gold. I wonder if he even had the measurements so that the measurements were correct for a bar of gold. In any case, it has a little guidebook, and it says 2018, and it came with a card that just shows what number it is. So he made 500 of these. Boo, no. She's trying to instigate. And I think it was in the upper 200s, this one, out of 500. So there you go. If you're interested in this sort of thing, you might want to jump on it. So not a lot about each card. but it, it gives some of the traditional meanings, and then it tells about the image on the front, which in the case of the Hanged Man, it says the 10-euro note. All banknotes depict bridges and arches, doorways in a different historical European style. The 10-euro note shows the Romanesque era between the 11th and 12th centuries. So, just really cool. So as I walk through this, as always, I look at it ahead of time. It's always that intimate first moment with a deck. And there were some, but I didn't have time to fully indulge in looking things up. And so this time around, if I have questions about a card, I'll go ahead and take a look. So here we have an appropriate Fool card, a pretty recognizable Fool card. Oftentimes, what he'll have up in this area, and it's interesting. So this is how he solved the issue of tarot cards being vertical and money being horizontal. Is that he selects some portion, sometimes a fairly small portion of the horizontal currency, and then up in this area here we'll have an image of it in full. So there we go. The Magician. And this, you can see there's the person up there. So you can see that this here is a detail. So I assume this is an inventor. So it's a detail of this part right here, right under there. No, my camera isn't going to really show it. But anyway, I love the Empress that's on the front of the box also, because it's in like a, it could be a throat chakra blue, or it could be a third eye brow chakra blue, and there's the full currency above. Perfect Empress with the sickle and the wheat and a child and fruit, flowers all around, and there she is. The Emperor. Such a severe look. I assume that's Napoleon. The Hierophant. So I'm going to look this one up because I'm curious. So you see it's only one portion of the currency. I'm curious exactly who the Pope there, or the Cardinal, or whoever it is attending to. So it says Spanish 500 pesetas, Bank of Spain, 1940. Detail of the painting is the burial of, so this is a detail of a painting which is titled The Burial of the Count of Orgaz by El Greco. The theme of the painting is inspired from a legend of the beginning of the 14th century. In 1312, a certain Don Gonzalo Ruiz, native of Toledo and señor of the town of Orgaz, died. His family later received the title of Count, by which he is generally and posthumously known. So there's a whole lot here about it. The Count of Orgaz was a pious man who, among other charitable acts, left a sum of money for the enlargement and adornment of the church of Santo Tomé, El Greco's parish church. He was also a philanthropist and a right-thinking knight. According to the legend of the time he was buried, Saint Stephen and Saint Augustine descended in person from the heavens and buried him by their own hands in front of the dazzled eyes of those present. You know what? Others have very minimal, like Strength, that says Belgium 20 francs 1919 issue, Minerva, Roman goddess and lion. So the guidebook varies, but that's some fun information there. Okay, so the Lovers, and I should have kept it open because I was really curious about these people too. So this to me just has a very sort of Bonnie and Clyde feel to it. Let me see. This is Czechoslovak 50 Korun. I have no idea how you pronounce that. 1929. Designed by Alphonse Mucha. Oh, there we go. Or I've noticed that a lot of people lately, they pronounce it Muha, Boo, out of the, sorry. Portrait of worker and peasant woman. So they're just sort of anonymous worker and peasant woman. Oh no, she doesn't look very peasanty to me. She looks like she's pretty well dressed there. Understandable train. I've seen that in tarot cards as well. For the Chariot, there's Strength, where they were talking about Minerva and the lion. You could see that as a Queen of Wands too. The Hermit. Curious if we have a name for this person as well. So let me look that one up. The Hermit. Romania, 500 lei banknote, 1991. National Bank of Romania, Constantine Brancusi. All right, he's a sculptor, yeah. A Romanian sculptor. I'm not sure I realized Brancusi was a Romanian painter and photographer who made his career in France. Maybe that's why. Self-portrait in the studio, 1934. Cool. Wheel of Fortune. Justice. One of the cool things about looking at like this Justice card and the Empress and the Wheel of Fortune is that you do see how some of these images are really ingrained in our society. The Hanged Man. So I'm not getting how this is the Hanged Man. Seeing as there's no man. The only thing that I could think of when I saw this as the Hanged Man is that there is no man in it. So it is the absence of a man. And I don't think there's any other deck in here that is devoid. Well, maybe there is, of people. You see, in the banknote there doesn't have it. So let me see if what's the excuse? What's the excuse? What's the reasoning? Oh, this is the one I read to you before. At the beginning, where it's just a 10-euro note with arches and doorways. And it says in the meanings of the card, it has yield, surrender, suspend, submission, sacrifice, non-action, in between. So maybe he's thinking in between. You're making a passage. I don't know. Not that I particularly want to see a hanged man. I could see how that would be a very challenging card to find a satisfying image for. Death. Temperance. And there's another card in here that I thought would have made a better temperance. Might have been the Queen of Cups. We do have a little figure over here that appears to be studying. The Devil. And maybe it's the chair has a devil's tail, maybe. Alright, so let's look it up. 15. Belgium, 500 francs, 1998. Parts of stylized pieces of Magritte's who is a Belgian surrealist artist. Unexplained surrealist art featuring men in hats from his oil painting Golconde. Also featuring a chair with an animal tail, a stylized apple, and a segmented building. Maybe it's just supposed to be kind of chaotic. Yeah, I don't think of Magritte as, or I don't know how you say his name, as being a devil, but maybe there's something about him, his history, that makes it appropriate. Tower. The star. And this is one that I didn't quite get. It looks like a building, architecture. And we can't really see any additional details there. The star. I'm sorry, you might hear strange noises. It's my terrier dog. This is another Euro note. Shows modern architecture. I just kind of figured the star, although it was also on the other, was it the Hanged Man that was the Euro note, where you have the stars all the way around in a circle. The moon. This is the one I was thinking would have been a good temperance, because she's got her hands on what might be a milk jug, actually. Milk urn. But anyway, it's also a lovely moon. The sun, where she looks like she's riding a bull instead of a horse. Judgment. I'm not quite getting that as a judgment card, except she looks like she might be rising from something. Actually, it looks like she's facing something painful. But you know, trees are certainly a symbol of rising from the dead each year. The Beautiful Worlds card, which is on the cover of this. And to me, this is the accomplishment aspect. You get this extra card, which has, you know, just a real variety, you know, of, you know, and I can't remember, it seems like somebody had said before, it's like every locality had their own form of money, and so they stamped, you know, the identity, something that identified their particular area on their coins. I just find that really interesting. Yeah. And it's one thing that I was thinking about in terms of these cards show it. Sorry about all the glare. Is, you know, each region, in the case of Euros, or country, is in some way trying to celebrate their heritage in their in the images on their currency. And it almost makes me think, all right, so if I were to make up my own currency, what would I want to have on it? Which is a weird thing to think, and I doubt I'll follow through on doing anything like that. And no, I'm not thinking of counterfeiting. I'm just thinking just in terms of, I don't know. I mean, I could see how you could use it to help you save, is like creating an image with the amount of money that you want to save and what that amount of money represents to you personally. You know, kind of like a currency vision board kind of a thing. But it would probably be, you know, a vision board often has a lot of different elements in it. And I would think that this currency sort of vision board would only have, you know, it would be more focused. So this is the Ace of Cups. So the deck actually comes with all of the aces together, but I put them with the rest of their suit. Two of Cups. So you can see some of these are very right away to me. This is such a sweet image. Three of Cups. And here he's actually looking at something over there. Maybe a woman, maybe not. 4 of Cups, trying to decide whether she's worthwhile. 5 of Cups, this actually looks more like a thinker, but you know, if we've got the symbols up there, we'll take it as somebody being mournful. Very sweet. 6 of Cups. And again, I'm not going to look up everything, all of the currency, but I'm really curious what country would have that on their banknotes. And the 7 of Cups. So this is a little rough for a 7 of Cups. You've got doves and you've got what looks like a sphinx or something lying with wings at any rate. But, yeah. So that's difficult for me as a 7 of Cups. The 8 of Cups, not sure. I mean, this is clearly a monument to this person. So maybe, I don't know if this person is a traveler. I'm going to look it up. Effigy of Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. Yeah, in Madrid. So I don't know if that Cervantes, is that the author is what I'm thinking? I don't know. So this is interesting as the 9 of Cups. You know, we usually have that figure in the middle of the 9 Cups, looking very proud, kind of gloating. And here we have a dragon. So it's very different, but it gets there. This could certainly also have been a 4 of Pentacles. But it works, I think, too, as a 9 of Cups. And the 10 of Cups. I kind of like the 10 of Cups as a schoolhouse. Everybody happy together. Community happiness. Page of Cups. That's very sweet with a little lamb there. I like a lamb better than a fish. Zippy. Sorry. The Knight of Cups. Looking very dashing. The Queen of Cups. She looks a little Queen of Wandsy, but at least she looks very queen. A lovely King of Cups. Ace of Pentacles. Very appropriate. Garden. 2. See, I would have thought of this, even though there are the ships traditionally in the 2 of Pentacles, I would have thought of this. And she is having to balance. It does look like she's got one leg raised and one down in her shell there. But yeah, it's a little bit of a stretch. But I mean, you know, when I talk about these things, I'm not necessarily saying them as criticisms so much as just sort of looking at where the card fits in the usual scheme of things and how it works or it's not likely to work for me as a reading, so that I just have, as a reader, so I can think when, you know, what am I going to do about the things that don't quite fit and might give me trouble for a reader. How am I going to deal with them when I use this deck? Yeah, so here's the 3 of Pentacles. 4 of Pentacles. Five of Pentacles, focusing very much on the church aspect of the Five of Pentacles. But it also does this. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The way he's cut this, like this. And you also have 1, 2, 3. Oh, no, yeah. Okay, I thought maybe we had 5 in here too. But no, we have many more than that. 2, 4, 6, 7. Anyway, definitely focusing on the church aspect of the Five of Pentacles. 6 of Pentacles. She is doing something with his hand, but it looks like more like she's a palm reader there. I'm looking it up just to see if it tells us what the person is here. 6 of Pentacles. Italy. Oh my goodness. 100,000 lire. 1994. Portrait of Caravaggio. Reproduced from a drawing by the painter Ottavio Leoni. Preserved in Florence at the Marcellian Library. Detail of the painting by Michelangelo Merisi da Caravaggio. The fortune teller. So it is somebody doing a palm reading. So yeah, it's actually 2 different things. All right. Mystery solved. So this is the 8. No, the 7. So I guess we're thinking of harvesting. In this case, he's harvesting trees for the 7 Pentacles. The 8 of Pentacles is the more traditional blacksmith. At least that's to me, with the decks I have, that's a not uncommon 8 of Pentacles image. The 9 of Pentacles. Maybe instead of a bird, she has a man. And she's on the backs, so maybe we should look her up too. Who's the 9 of Pentacles? Oh my goodness. 9 of Pentacles. Russia. 100 rubles. 1910. Duchess Tsarina Catherine. Okay. Ekaterina II. And it says allegorical man. So I guess this is an allegorical man. Okay, so there's your 10 of Pentacles. Looks like a big, there's a school scene, there's a big, big family scene. Page of Pentacles. At least it catches kind of the slow and thoughtful, deliberative aspect of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles. Definitely very wound up in metal. Queen of Pentacles. She's so young. Yeah. It might be a little difficult for me to distinguish the queens, except I do have, obviously, the information there. King of Pentacles. He does look like the King of Pentacles, but he kind of has a sly look in his eye also. Ace of Swords. And the 2 of Swords. Oh, I'm going to look that up because that statue, that's bugging me. Two of Swords. It's Nike. That's what it. I thought. What is that? Who is that? It says Greek, 5,000 drachmae. Or drachmae, I have no idea how to say it. 1942, statue of Nike of Samothrace, Thrace, whatever. The Three of Swords, to me, this just simply has a completely different meaning. So I've noticed that in some of his swords, the swords kind of don't follow very closely, but in some, you know, it kind of takes the, some people associate it with writing or communication, the Suit of Swords, and there is obviously somebody's giving a letter here, and then there's this guy with a sword, like he's ready to cut off somebody's hand there that makes the wrong move. Anyway, 4. So maybe I'm assuming this is a parachute, and so maybe it's kind of like the parachute will release and rescue you. It's kind of your savior. The 5 of Swords, and so again, this to me leans on the communication end of things. So it's like he's trying to convince the people around him of something. To move, I'm assuming to move, because he looks like he's a general or something, to move them to action. And the 6 now, once again, this person has what looks like in her hands a quill pen, and as though she's been writing on something, reading and writing on something. With the 6 of Swords. This is a really disturbing image to me. I don't know. To me, this would be like cruelty. Is it going to focus? It's quite. Now, I don't know. Maybe this is supposed to represent a demon and the taming of a demon, but it looks like a dog to me. And look at these things that look like instruments of both science and torture. Both. I don't know. To me, this is a disturbing image. So, let's look at it. The 7 of Swords. See if it's just my twisted mind. And it's really just a cozy card. 7 of Swords. So what it has for meanings is choice, irrational, duplicity, instability, ignorance, impetuous, indirection, indecision, in between, juxtaposition, impulsiveness, lack of conviction. All right, and then a description of what's on the banknote is France, 5 francs, 1966 to 1970. Really? Statue, so I'm guessing that must be a statue. Well, it's on a pedestal. Statue by Truffaut, T-R-U-F-F-O-T, of a 15-year-old shepherd, Jean-Baptiste Jupille, J-U-P-I-L-L-E, in front of Pasteur Institute, who lived not far from someplace I'm not going to try to pronounce, in the department of Jura, J-U-R-A, subduing a mad dog, okay? Wolf infected with rabies. All right, so I'm getting it now. Jupille was the second child saved from rabies. All right. I get it. It's a Louis Pasteur. I get it. I'm glad that information was in there so I would no longer have to be disturbed. Because I'm, in this day and age, I'm thinking like vivisection and, oh lordy. 8. So here we are in South America or Mexico. 8 of Swords. So I don't know if he's supposed to be bound. I don't know if this figure is supposed to represent somebody bound in a reclined position. I assume that's where that 8 of Swords idea comes from. I'm not sure what this represents for the 9 of Swords, unless it's the, if we think of Judas as a betrayer, and, this is normally about worrying that somebody will betray us, but I have a hard time. I'm not even sure if that's Jube. I don't know. Swords. In the book, it starts with the court cards, talking about the court cards, and then goes into the numbered cards. Oh, it's concentration camp. Oh my gosh. Fossenberg. I guess that's what that represents. Wow. But it says Flossenberg concentration camp, Germany, 1 Reichsmark, 1944. Oh my gosh. Okay, 10 of Swords. And I could see that being, all events resulting in you being thrown against the rocks. This might be something like hanging from the rocks. At first when I looked at it, I thought it was like a cleft in the rocks, but now I'm not so sure. But I'm not going to look that one up. Page of Swords. Again, you've got the allusion to letters and writing there. A very traditional Knight of Swords. Queen of Swords. But she does have things growing out that looks like her sword, the shaft of her sword, of the hilt of her sword is sprouting. So it also could pass for a Queen of Wands. King of Swords. And it's interesting because the King of Swords is not a painting of a king, but the statue of a king. A painting of the statue, which gives them that kind of hard-looking face that one might expect of a King of Swords. Ace of Wands. You've got, the banners, the flags, and the cannons there. This I don't quite get as a 2 of Wands, except what you have right here, 1 and 2. Three of Wands, I could see that, except that this falcon, does it have a hood on? No, I see an eye there. So to me this would be, just being far-seeing, looking outwards, being far-seeing. 4, kind of a little festival, decorating, well, they're actually picking apples and stuff, but I could see this as a 4 of Wands. 5, this is a little strange. You see a pipe organ in the background, but maybe competing messages. It's definitely not not as fraught as, sorry if you hear all the dog noises there, as a traditional 5 of Wands. 6 of Wands, you do have the laurel wreath. The 7 of Wands, if you look, he's putting, so he's under attack by this strange creature. And is putting a blade in its head and a blade in its gut. So standing his ground and defending himself against this strange creature. So I can see that for the 7 of Wands. The 8 of Wands, this looks like Mount Fuji. And I'm not sure how you get the 8 of Wands out of Mount Fuji. So I'll eventually have to look that up and see if there's any reasoning there. And this, when I first saw it, to me it looked like that wolf had like a red ball in his mouth. But I think it's supposed to be his mouth open. So this would be the 9 of Wands, and so that is a defensive posture there. The 10 of Wands. This almost strikes me more like the 10 of Swords, but I'll go with it. Page of Wands. Sorry, I'm being joggled by my dogs who are bumping up against my chair. The Knight of Wands. Is that, no, it is a sword. I thought maybe it was a spear. But anyway, the Queen of Wands. She does have a wand, or a flag, the shaft of the flag, I'm not sure which. And she has lots of laurel wreaths around her. And it looks like stars around her head. And lastly, the King of Wands. So I'm going to see how this shuffles. There's the gold bar. So I'll give it a riffle here in a second. And I might do a deck interview just to see how it reads. Again, I'm not too worried if it doesn't read. I'm just really intrigued by the idea of a deck that consists of currency and of using it more to think about my relationship to money and what money is, what money has been throughout history, what money maybe can be to me. It's a pretty stiff deck. Yeah. So my my weak hands aren't going to get very much of a good shuffle out of it. I wonder, can I do a corner shuffle? Well, yeah, I'd say that's even worse than my attempt to do a riffle. So I'll keep trying to riffle. So there it is, the Money Tarot by Eugene Vinitski. I will, now that time I'm getting a little better. So maybe it'll soften up fairly quickly. Or maybe my hands will limber up fairly quickly. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll be back with a deck interview. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.